The truth of it was that every way which was not yourself failed. All those who did not know you went astray, and only those knew you who were in you. Not even the distance from me to you was passable if it had not been trod in advance in you. But you yourself, Lord, how are you away? You are unlike any human road. None of your words is a sure indicator of the next, in the way in which milestones show distance and a clear direction. Every direction is a judgment and an execution. Every execution of a plan is a prosecution. Every prescription a proscription. The way that you are, and you are a way, should remove every solid road from beneath our feet. Every step forward at once pushes us back into the greater gulf of our nothingness, and it shoves us to the side that, kneeling in the dust, we may open the way for you to advance alone, you who are the King of glory. We are to do works and to grow through works, but in growing we are to become smaller, and in looking on you we are to forget all our works. Our righteousness ought to be greater than that of the scribes and Pharisees, but we also ought to become smaller and more lowly than a child. We are to store up treasures in heaven, and in solid barns where rust and moths won't consume them. But we are also to be the poorest of men, and blessed beggars in spirit, not worrying fearfully about the morrow, the eternal day. With great intensity we ought to run after what lies before us, and yet we ought to rest in careless distension, like a bird in your hand. Our works should shine before men, but we should take care to perform them in secret. We are to be perfect as our Father in heaven is perfect, but also crushed in spirit, like the publican in the temple, experiencing ourselves as good-for-nothing sinners. We are to be watchful, mature, and, as your friends, initiated into the full depth of your mysteries. But as your servants, we ought not desire to know either the day or the hour. We are to exert ourselves for men and die for them like women in labor. And yet, when they don't receive us, we are simply to keep walking after shaking the dust from our feet. We ought to be even-tempered and desirous of no gift, but at the same time empathetic both in sorrow and in joy, and open-handed both in giving and in receiving. Patient as a seed, we are to let your kingdom grow in us, like a sown field rising steadily and full of weeds. But, bold as lightning, we are to snatch the kingdom of heaven to ourselves with violence in the flash of the great decision. Where is there a way here? Where any kind of indication? Is this not the wilderness? And who can grasp your kingdom? Your kingdom is small as a mustard seed, and yet surpasses all other seeds in growth. It is commingled of the good and the worthless, and yet admits no one who is evil. It is distant and not of this world, and has nevertheless come close to us to dwell among us. It draws us near when we are far off and sit in the shadow of death, and yet it escapes us when we approach it and try to encompass it. This kingdom, your presence in the world, is as ungraspable as you are yourself. For it is all things at once. It is poor and rich, mighty and powerless, so visible that no one can overlook it with impunity, and yet so secret that no one can perceive it without the eyes of grace.